So here we are again, Zwift number 73 for Danny Skids, stage 1, rolling with ENVE. It's the Two Bridges loop. There was 174 people signed up for this ride and 155 actually started. Here's a quick look at the route. It starts off in town Watopia. We travel towards the volcano. There's a few S's that we need to negotiate before we head uphill to the large incline, which is going to be a bit of a gut buster really. 155 people over the start finish line and 3 laps. Here's the start finish that we're just passing here. I'm on a Zwift racing score of 231 and the category boundaries were 270 to 390. So here we go, leaving downtown Watopia. You can see that I'm quite well back in the group already. I don't particularly like this start, going up this gradual incline. Sometimes some people can put a good burst in early on and you could be distanced, but I didn't feel too bad. Felt as though I had a good position and just stayed with the rest of the group really until it settled down. So you can see I'm currently in position 120th, which is quite far back. I am working quite hard. My average watts is up over 250, which is really high for me, but obviously when we get an aggressive start you can anticipate your average watts being that high. But my concern is that you can see as we're going around these bends that there are gaps appearing. It may look like there's a big long train when you look at the mini map on the top right hand corner, but I'm a little bit concerned that I'm going to get distance. You can see about 20 places further ahead there seems to be gaps appearing, and I'm working hard at the moment to keep my watts up, to keep in touch with these riders. So potentially something's going to give here soon, and hopefully I can stay in touch with some of the riders around me. If you've watched some of my recent races, Zwift 70, 71, 72, you'll know that I'm trying to ride a bit more frequently because I've been a little bit lazy over the summer holidays, or I've been a little bit tied up with other things. So this is the 4th ride in a week, so that's a positive, and I'm just trying to get my legs back really because I'm well aware that my power isn't at the levels that I would like it to be. I have ridden quite often around the 2.8, 2.7 watts per kilogram. My first ride back in 3 weeks put me around 2.0. Then I did increase to about 2.4 and a 2.5 recently, but I'm still not up at the 2.6, 2.7 where I'd like to be. And this course is probably not going to get the best out of me either, with the big incline that we are going to encounter in about 3 kilometres time. We've got this little incline here, it flattens out, and we get a little bit of respite here as we go over the top of the mountains, but sooner or later we're going to hit the big incline on the loop, which we're going to have to encounter 3 times, and it was just going to be too much for me. So you can see that there's a split, you can see there's various splits. There's a big split with a group well out in front, just getting close to that really steep incline that I was talking about. And then there's a number of other groups just in front of me here that are also pushing hard. So I've got a group including Lervik and Shepherd, sorry, who are just in front, who I want to catch hold of, and I do. So I'm pleased about that. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to ride along with these. We've got another group of just 5 seconds ahead of us, but some of the other groups are well out in front. So here's the incline I was talking about. We're still going to have to negotiate this 2 more times after this attempt here, but you can see that it really is quite steep. I think it gets up to about 9-10%. I think we'll see when I get around the corner. And various riders are either struggling or able to cope with it really, really well and take advantage of the incline, because we've got some really good climbers in the group. But for me, it's a bind, it's hard going, and by the time I get to the top, you'll probably see my heart rate up over 170, which is where I never want it to be. This overview in the middle is a little bit deceiving, because we take a left-hand turn on this blue section here, so we don't go over this next orange and yellow section. You see all the riders turning left here now, and therefore the mini map in the centre obviously alters. We've got the steamroller as a power up. That was a complete waste of time. I did pop it, but steamroller only impacts you if you are riding on rougher terrain like a gravel course, and you can pop the steamroller power up, and that enables the surface that you're riding on to be more efficient. So with us already being on an efficient surface, it wasn't going to make any difference at all, but I popped it anyway, and that was the only power ups we were going to get. So back into downtown Watopia, 14.6 kilometres to go, so it must be an 8.3 kilometre circuit roughly, 8.2 maybe. And we're heading back out of the downtown Watopia. So I've got a position of 131st at the moment, but you can see we are completely spread out. I will try and film some of the riders ahead shortly. I'm not sure at which point I do scroll ahead and look at some of the other riders, but we'll have a look how they're all getting on. So I was starting to ease off by this point. You can see my average watts are down below 200. Sorry, my watts that I'm kicking out at the moment are around about the 200 mark, and my average watts are 235. Mulderich and Dale have just gone past me, so I'm trying to catch hold of their tails now just so I can get a little bit of a draft, but I think this is probably quite short-lived. You can see there's a big group in front of us around about 10 seconds ahead. They were just keeping a consistent gap of around 6-7 seconds for a while, but then they just started to open it up, and I just knew that I needed to conserve a bit of energy. Mulderich was being a little bit of a pain because he's obviously got his steering enabled, so every time I got close to his draft he would move across so that I couldn't get in his draft. So here we are, just zipping through some of the groups. But you can see how far ahead they are already. There's Bjorkman. I'll just identify a few of the riders through the Roman villas and turning left by the fountain at the end, back up the hill. And then we're back into the front group. And the difficulty when you're always scrolling through all the riders is what appears to happen is whoever you appear to choose seems to be going backwards at the time, so you can see that the numbers of the positions are jumping around massively, so it takes me quite a while to find somebody who's going forwards and improving their positions. So here we're up to top 8, and I'm eventually able to find De Vos in first place, who's out in front at this point, being followed by Coker at that point. So I just scroll back to myself for the time being. I'm completely isolated now, probably by filming the others. I've switched off a little bit, although I am tired. Back in 131st position. I've got 11 kilometres to go. I'm aware that it's not going to be a good ride. I am watching my average watts, which are currently at 225, but they are slowly decreasing, and you'll have noted that they're slowly decreasing. So probably, I can't remember where I finished, what average watts I finished on, but probably getting close to 210, 220, no 210 sorry, So I just lost my ability to dig in really and be really, really competitive. I was going through the motions to a large degree, and just being aware that I would probably end up filming lots of the other riders in the race. So coming up to the steep incline up where the two bikes are in the distance, the leaders will have gone probably past there by now. I'm not sure of their actual lead that they would have had at this point, but you know they are well out in front. And again, I don't know the timings of how far behind the winner I was by the end of the race, but I would imagine it was well over 5 minutes. So you can see that I'm struggling in this category. Like I said before, Zwift racing score of 2:31 prior to this race probably means that I'm going to drop back below 2:30. I think that will enable me to potentially do this same ride in a lower category which has a higher range of 3:30. I can imagine that my 3:31 is going to go back into the 2:20s or even 3:20s, sorry. So we'll see how that develops. So I just film myself going up around this corner, and then I'll hopefully return to filming some of the other riders up ahead. So I made a point of spinning a bigger gear that time, so you may have seen that my cadence was a little bit higher. But then just at this point now, as we drop down over this top of this hill here, you're just able to cruise down back into downtown Watopia. So there's a big gap of 30 seconds to some of the riders ahead of me. I've got a rider by the name of Swajcek from Poland who's just a couple of seconds behind me. In a perfect world, I'd prefer that he came alongside me and I was able to use his draft, but we'll see how that develops. But you can see the rest of the riders, we're only at 80th position, and these riders are well out the other side of the downtown Watopia. They're going through all the S's here. We're currently riding in the second group with Kling, but then up into the front group you'll see there's still around about 45 riders. I think I actually stayed with these riders for a little bit of time here, try and get a rider out near the front so you can probably see yourself riding, because I will send a link to all of the people who took part in the race. So yeah, these riders now have got around about 2/3 of the race to go, or maybe, sorry, 2/3 of a loop to go, or maybe even half a lap to go. And there's still 40 odd riders in the front group. Before they finish the race, I will go back to some of the riders further back, so I'm not going to stay with this front group all the way to the finish, but you can see how many people are popping the steamroller, so they are quite well educated there, because you could see that they were on the cobbles, so popping it on the cobbles would have some benefit. How much I don't know, because it's only a short section of cobbles. But I'm back riding with myself now, and you can see that some of the other riders have just gone straight past me. Swajcek is a couple of seconds. I'm not too far away from some of the riders in front from Belgium, but I don't think I'm able to get hold of their tail and get a draft off them. So it's just going to be a lonely race all the way to the end. I know I've only got 5.7 kilometres to go, and in a really odd way, whilst I'm filming or whilst I'm scrolling through all the other riders and allowing you to see how all the other riders are getting on, it takes away the pain of me having to get up the hills, so I'll just change gear and spin a higher gear so that when I am climbing the inclines like this one here, this is an example because I'm actually following myself, but when we get to that really steep incline I forget that I'm actually riding up it because I'm scrolling through all the other riders and watching the other riders, so that makes it a little less painful. But here we go. I'm thinking that we will keep an eye on all these riders all the way through to the end here, but scrolled all the way through to the back of the front group, and you can see they're all quite spread out, and I just am able to find some of the riders who have made a real spurt. So 3 riders off the front, Ford, Parry and gosh, let's go for Kangafani. Oh my god, that's probably not right. But Ford certainly putting a burst in here, and so much so that when he's dropping down the other side he's able to air a boost. See, look, that's nowhere near Fanny, is it? It's Kangasnami. Sorry if I've still said that wrong on the second attempt. But I filmed back to somebody chasing first to see if they were going to make an impact, and if they were gaining on them for a little bit. Parry from Italy, but Ford was able to hold him off, so we'll go back to Ford and you'll see him cross the line. So it's quite hard to follow a lot of the riders here now, because if you are scrolling and following a rider over the finish line, sometimes it kicks you out and you have to go back to yourself. So we're already back at 33rd position, 35th position, and these are some of the riders now having their own little races towards the end. Commendable race really, they're probably only about 30 seconds behind the winners, but all doing their own little races here now. You'll have seen that Beeble Brock was also in the race. He's a YouTuber who I've ridden against on numerous occasions. I think all bar once, he's always beaten me, and with my fitness being where it is at the moment, I expected that to happen again today, but maybe I would have liked to have stayed a little bit more in contention with the group rather than getting dropped so early. Cool Hand is another name that I've seen pop up from time to time. He's there just in front of these riders coming across the line in the 70s. There's Beeble Brock commenting about how strong the race was, because it was a hard race. I'll go through all the data later on and let you know how I was specifically, and then compare that to some of the riders out the front. So back in 85th position here now, and scrolling back to Page and Perrison. I am absolutely butchering some of these names because that's not Perrison either, is it? Should we go for Persin? But like I said, everyone putting in their own little sprints, everyone got their own little targets and challenges, and working really, really hard. Not one of my best rides. I don't know whether I will ride it again. Thursday's a no-no anyway because I'll be playing football. Friday probably will be too soon after the Thursday football for me to make any inroads into my effort. So maybe Saturday morning, I might take up the offer of the same race again, but I really don't like the steep incline up to the 2 bikes that you just see in the background there at the highest point of the circuit. So we're back on 109th now. I did get a little bit confused here because my name will come into shot. There it is, right down the bottom, D Skids YouTube. So this is me following 107th, and my name's only about half a dozen positions below that. So I'm thinking, wow, okay, I've moved up from about 130th to 116th, something like that. But after crossing the finish line, I actually ended up being 131st again, so I don't know what's happened there, why. I'm not complaining, I'm just intrigued to know why. So here's the rider who's finished one place ahead of me, Muldrich. and I'm still 40 seconds further back than him. So I would imagine my time behind the winners was a good 5 minutes. I would say probably about 6 or 7 minutes from the leaders back to me, so you can see the sort of effort that I've got to try and make if I'm going to compete at this 390 category. And to be honest, it's probably out of my control, out of my range of ability. So there I am, 131st, 205 watts, only averaging 2.2, but I was aware that I did ease off. But here's the final results. Thomas Ford in first place, 32 minutes and 20, followed by Michelle Parry in second, third Sam Humble, fourth D Doug, fifth Simon Christie, sixth A Masters, seventh Mika Appermans, eighth Catalin Sharkey Altenou, ninth was Andy, and then 10th was Nomad. It was an enjoyable ride. I was actually 7 minutes and 30 seconds behind the winner, so you can see the actual difference there is between myself and the other riders. I'll hopefully be back and I'll compare how I've ridden recently. Please subscribe, please like. We're getting close to 150 subscribers. Cheers. I'll catch you again soon with a better effort.